Hey, what's up everyone? Adam here with brahwegotthis, and welcome to my second ever build video. This build is going to feature a stamina Dragonknight DPS, and I call it the Plague Doctor build. This build's goal is to dish out tons of AoE damage, especially poison damage, to really capture the feel of the Plague Doctor. The other goal of this build is to make sure you can clear 95% of the content in the game. This build is optimized first for solo play for those of you that like to play solo, but it also has optimizations and quick changes that make this a great, solid pick as a stamina DPS for group content. If you ever have any questions about this build, you can always stop by my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/brahwegotthis on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also join our Discord, the Brahwegotthis, and our guilds. The Twitch and the Discord are in the description, so you can check out those links there. Also, this build will eventually be up on my website at brahwegotthis.com. And lastly, I'd love to give a huge shout out to all my patrons that support the channel on Patreon. Thank you guys and gals for that. If you'd like to become a patron, you will get early access to all videos I post on YouTube, and you can check out the mini perks below in the description. But let's get into the actual build video. I'll be putting timestamps for each section in the description as well, so if you want to skip to the other parts of the video, that is up to you. Just know that every section has important information for the build. Make sure to leave a comment below though, letting me know what you like about the build and any suggestions for future builds. So let's go ahead and get into the raw stats. We have our buff potion active. We've got 64 points into stamina, 0 into health, 0 into magicka. We got 9.7k max magicka, 19.9k max health, and 31.7k max stamina. We got 514 magicka recovery, 309 health recovery, 935 stamina recovery. We got 4,074 weapon damage, 51.6% weapon critical, 12.7k physical resistance, 17.6k spell resistance, 1320 critical resistance, 1771 spell damage, and 25.5% spell critical. We are running the blue food here, the braised rabbit with spring vegetables buff food. You can also run the Artaeum takeaway broth if you would like as well, but this is a little easier to obtain. So this gives max health and max stamina for 1 hour. It's a solid food. For our potions, we are using Essence of Weapon Power. Remember to use your potions. These are important. For the race, we are running Orc. The reason we are running Orc is it's got great stamina ability passives. You've got Brawny, which increases max stamina by 2,000. You've got Unflinching Rage, which increases your max health, which is solid for solo play. And when you deal damage with a weapon ability, you heal for 600 health. This can occur every 4 seconds. We got Swift Warrior, which increases your weapon damage and reduces the cost of sprint and makes your movement speed faster when you sprint. So that is solid for a stamina build and for solo. I love it. I love using orcs for stamina builds. For the Munda Stone, we are using the Shadow Munda Stone. This increases your critical damage and healing by 17%. This is, again, all throughout the world of Tamriel. We also have one of these at our guild hall, and then other players in our guild have these as well in their houses. So you can just ask around, but these are very easy to find in the world. Make sure to have the Shadow Stone. So let's go ahead and get into the skills. We're going to start off, and some of these skills, y'all, you're going to be like, yo, haven't seen those skills in a while, but they are freaking awesome for AoE damage, y'all, and for sustain and staying alive and just making sure you're dishing out enough damage. Because remember, we are sticking with the poison theme of the Plague Doctor. But I'm going to give alternatives to some of these if you're not playing solo as well, because again, there's a lot of people that play in groups, which is perfectly fine because I do that a lot too. So there are alternatives to some of these. But on our first bar, we are starting off with Venomous Claw. Venomous Claw is the skill in the Ardent Flame line. You have to morph it to Venomous Claw, dealing 4,680 poison damage and then an additional 16,345 poison damage over 14 seconds. The poison seeps into the target and deals increased damage, and the longer it lasts, dealing 20% more damage every 2 seconds. Enemies hit by the initial hit are affected with the poison status effect. This is a solid damage over time effect that you can use, and you can also do this as a spammable if you'd like for a single target, but this is a solid damage over time for bosses. You'll want to apply that to a boss. It's really, really solid. Next, we have Noxious Breath. This is, again, from the Ardent Flame. You'll want to morph it to Noxious Breath. You exhale a corrosive blast to enemies in front of you, dealing 7,253 poison damage and an additional 12,649 poison damage over 14 seconds. Afflicts the enemies with major breach, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5,948. This, again, is a great pre-combat use. So you go into combat, you use this, it gives them a poison damage effect over time because it hits multiple enemies. It is a solid thing to start off in a mob fight or at a boss as well. I love this ability, and again, it stays there for the poison theme. Next, we have Flames of Oblivion. This, again, is from the Ardent Flame line. You're going to morph it to this. This, you really don't even activate it. It's there to be slotted on your bar, so you don't even really need to activate the skill, because look, it says while slotted, you gain Major Prophecy and Major Savagery. Increase your spell and weapon critical ratings by 2,629. You'll see why we want that later on in the build, but this is literally just scaled, or this is literally just here to be slotted, so don't use this ability. The next ability, this is something that people have not used in a while, but I love this ability for this build. This is Razor Caltrops. Razor Caltrops are from the Assault PvP line. It is the 4th skill you unlock. It takes a little bit to get this skill. When you first, get into the game, you've got to level up your PvP line. The quickest way, though, is to get a group in Cyrodiil or to do Battlegrounds and just grind those over and over again. But with the Battleground update coming up, y'all, you will be able to group with your friends. So this is something that might not be as hard to get. But Razor Caltrops, again, this is you hurl a ball of Caltrops that scatter over the target area, dealing 934 physical damage every 1 second to enemies inside and reducing their movement speed by 50%. That right there is really nice for solo play, but if you're in a mob fight and you need to kind of get away or kind of back off a little bit, it really helps when you can reduce their movement speed with this. It lets you not get hit as much, but then enemies who take damage from the Caltrops have Major Breach applied to them, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5,948 for 4 seconds. This is a nice damage over time effect, and it does a load of damage and helps with not letting those mobs just swarm you when you're playing solo. But this skill can be removed if you don't want to grind for this, even on the solo play or group play. So the skills that you can replace Razor Caltrops with, in my opinion, I think the first one should be either Deadly Cloak or Rapid Strikes. So Deadly Cloak is nice because it envelops you in razors, gaining major evasion, reducing damage from area attacks by 20%, so really nice for solo play. And then every 1 second, Shrapnel will pulse, dealing 13-16 physical damage to all enemies within 5 meters. That is a solid skill for when you are playing solo, but also in a group. So you could replace it as well with Rapid Strikes. This is a nice spammable, and it also is just something that looks really cool when you do it. It's a nice little animation. But it floods the enemy with steel, battering them with 5 consecutive attacks that each deal 1389 physical damage. Each hit increases the damage of the subsequent hit by 3%. The final hit deals 300% more damage. So these are options to switch out Major Caltrops. You don't necessarily need this, but it's something that I really like running. Next, the spammable on this bar that you're going to use a lot in mob fights and even for the boss fights are Whirling Blades. This is from the Dual Wield line as well. This is, you launch yourself into lethal spin, dealing 7,253 physical damage to nearby enemies, deals up to 100% more damage to enemies when they're less than 50% health. So by the time you throw out your AoEs from our other bar as well, you can use this and you can just absolutely annihilate enemies. So this is the 3rd skill you get. You want to morph it to Whirling Blades. I love this skill, and it's something that you definitely want in this build. The ultimate. I am using the Dual Wield ultimate on this bar. I love this ultimate, one, because it's got a low ultimate cast, so you've got the ability to have this up a lot. But this slashes enemies in front of you, causing them to bleed for 28,085 physical damage over 8 seconds, and healing you for 50% of the damage done. So this is a nice heal as well. So it does like a cone attack, and then each enemy hit increases your damage done by 6% for the duration. This effect can stack up to 6 times. So this is a really, really awesome ultimate. It's very fun to use, and it does heal you for a ton. This can be switched out for the Dawnbreaker ability here. This is something that a lot of in-game or high in-game builds use when you're running like really hard group content. If your group is asking you to run this or something, you can always switch it out with Dawnbreaker, but I like running this one because it's very fun to use and it also heals you. Now, the second bar, we are using Bow. On the last bar, we were using Dual Wield, as you could tell, but on the second bar, we're using Bow. The first skill is Arrow Barrage. This is from the Bow skill line. This is going to be morphed to Arrow Barrage. It's the second skill you get. This launches a multitude of arrows into the sky to rain down, dealing 1778 physical damage to enemies in the target every 1 second for 8 seconds after a 2-second delay. So this is something you want to have on the enemy or adds at all times. It's a nice damage over time effect, so make sure to keep this up. Next is Poison Injection, hence the poison theme. Shoot an arrow coated in Bendari poison at the enemy, dealing 4,306 poison damage, an additional 8,610 poison damage over 10 seconds. This deals up to 100% more damage to enemies under 50% health. So it's a nice damage over time, again, you can apply to the boss, but then when you apply this under 50% health, it does even more damage. So this is a nice damage over time again. Next, we have Echoing Vigor. And so with this, oh, by the way, and Poison Injection is the last skill that you get for the bow line, so keep that in mind. Next skill is Echoing Vigor. Okay, so this is another flex spot in a way. This is from the Alliance line. This is the first skill you get, so you will get this if you just go to Cyrodiil and do the starter quest. It's something they switched. It's very easy to get now. Now, the morph of this is more for solo play. The green one, it looks like a green guy in there with like green auras. I chose this one just because like I had it because I'm going to be playing more in groups and stuff like that. So I like using this one. This one heals you and your allies. The other one just heals you. So this one is solid if you're playing in groups. The other one is solid if you're playing solo. But I like this as a heal because, again, this is nice to have out all the time when you're playing solo and for stamina characters that may not have a lot of heals in general. But this can be switched out for other skills. Another skill that I put in there that I tried out was Acid Spray for the bow. I like this as another nice like cone damage over time effect for poison, but we have so many damage over time effects that I just felt like it wasn't necessarily important to have this one as well. But if you'd like to put that in, you definitely can, but I like having this on the barb. The next skill is Barb Trap. So the Barb Trap line is from the Fighters Guild. The Fighters Guild can be leveled up by doing dolmens and things like that, killing Undaedra, werewolves. Dolmens are the quickest way though, in my opinion, but Barb Trap, it starts out as Beast Trap and you want to morph it to Barb Trap. And so what this does is sets a sharpened blade trap at your location, which takes 1.5 seconds to arm and lasts for 1 minute. When triggered, the trap deals 4,306 physical damage and additional 15,498 physical damage over 18 seconds. This grants you minor force, increasing your damage done by 10% for the duration. And then, so you can put this like on the boss, and this will give you a nice critical damage buff. You want this out at all times. The last skill here can be a flex skill. This is more for solo play, but this is Green Dragon Blood. This is a skill that you will unlock in the Draconic Power line. It's the third skill here. You morph it to Green Dragon Blood. This, you draw your Draconic Blood to heal you for 33% of your missing health. You also gain Major Fortitude, Major Endurance, and Minor Vitality. Increases your health recovery and stamina recovery by 40%, and healing received by 8% for 23 seconds. This, again, is kind of an emergency heal. If you feel like you're going to like get one shot or something, you pop this and you can heal for 33% of your missing health. So that's a good bit of our health. I mean, we have 19k health, so that's like at least 6.5, 7k health. It's a nice heal. And again, you have this heal too, but this is a heal over time. This is going to heal you for 7k like instantly. So this is just something you can keep there for an emergency, again, if you need it as a solo player. But with some of our armor, y'all, I don't think we're going to need this as much, and you'll see why coming up. The ultimate on this is Standard of Might. Standard of Might is a solid ultimate from the Ardent Flame line. This is basically amazing. When you drop it, it lasts for 20 seconds. It deals 3,862 flame damage every 1 second for 20 seconds to enemies, applying major defile to them, reducing their healing received and health recovery. But standing in the area increases your damage done and reduces damage taken by 15%. That is amazing. It's really good for solo play, really good for group play as well. An ally can also stand near it and get the Shackle synergy, dealing 9,259 flame damage to the enemies and immobilizing them for 5 seconds. So this is something that I would say you would choose this ultimate over your dual wield ultimate, but this is like a fun ultimate. Again, that can heal you, do a lot of damage. This is something that if you've got a boss, I would say that you'd want to drop this instead of dropping your dual wield ultimate. This is more for like mobs and stuff like that. This would be for like a boss, and then you you know, drop all your other damage abilities as well, because that's going to increase your damage overall. Okay, we're going to go into the passives now before we get into the actual sets. Again, some of these are selected because I'm on the PTS. I did not select them myself, but we're in the Ardent Flame line. So we got Combustion, which increases the damage of burning and poison status effects by 50%. When you apply burning to an enemy, restore 500 magicka. When you apply poison to an enemy, restore 500 stamina. So that is an important passive to have in this build, y'all. We've got Searing Heat, which increases the damage over time of your Fiery Breath, Searing Strike, and Dragonknight standard abilities by 33%, and duration by 4 seconds. We've got World in Ruin, increases the damage of your flame area effect abilities by 6%, increases the cost of your stamina poison abilities by 25%. So we want that stamina poison ability AoE there. Then we have Iron Skin, which increases the amount of damage you block by 10%. You've got Burning Heat, which when you have a Draconic power ability active, your healing received is increased by 12%. So all we have is really a green dragon blood, but that's still nice to have. We've got Elder Dragon, which increases your health recovery by 5% for each Draconic power ability slotted. Increase your range of melee attacks by 2 meters. This effect only applies to instant cast attacks for 5-meter range. So that would be for your Venomous Claw right here. And then we've got Scaled Armor, which increases your spell resistance by 3,300. Elder Dragon is one that you also can do without if you need to, but it's not something that is completely necessary, but I just have it here because I have this ability here. So for Earthen Heart, we're just going to use Battle Roar, which is when you cast an ultimate ability, you restore 46 health and 46 magicka and 46 stamina for each part of the ultimate's cost. Besides that, we don't have any Earthen Heart abilities that we are using in this build, so we're just going to go with Battle Roar. For the weapon, we're going to go dual wield. We're going to get all of these. We're going to do Slaughter, increase the damage of your dual wield abilities by 20% against enemies with under 25% health. We're going to do Dual Wield Expert, increase your weapon damage by 6% of offhand weapons damage. Do Controlled Fury, reduces the stamina cost of dual wield abilities by 15%. We're going to do Ruffian, which gives you a 15% damage bonus when attacking stunned, immobilized, disoriented, or silenced enemies. And Twin Blade and Blunt, which that's why we're doing Axe and Dagger with this build. Axe gives you melee attacks 8% chance to bleed enemies for 11,010 physical damage over 6 seconds. And the Dagger increases your weapon critical rating, and current bonus is 1,095. We got the bow abilities. We're going to use all of the bow abilities. Long shots give your damage bonus up to 12% against enemies at longer range. Increases weapon critical by 1,095 for accuracy. Ranger reduces the stamina cost of bow abilities by 15%. Hawkeye, which dealing damage with a light or heavy attack increases damage of your bow abilities by 5% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. You got Hasty Retreat, grants you major expedition for 4 seconds after you roll dodge. Major expedition increases your movement speed by 30%. Then we will be going medium armor. We got all of them again: dexterity, windwalker, improved sneak, agility, and athletics. And we are not actually doing heavy or light. We're going all medium armor. So make sure to do just all 5 passives here. It's going to save you some passives in the light and heavy armor lines. For Fighters Guild, we're going to be doing Intimidating Presence, reduces the stamina cost of your Fighters Guild abilities by 15%. We've got Barb Trap. We're going to do the Slayer one. So when we're on the Barb Trapped bar, increase your weapon damage by 3% for each Fighters Guild ability slotted. So we'll have 3% there. We're going to do Banish the Wicked. You generate 9 ultimate when you kill an undead, Daedra, or werewolf. And then we're going to do the Skill Tracker. Your Fighters Guild abilities deal an additional 20% damage to undead, Daedra, and werewolves. Then we're going to do Undaunted. These are important again. Undaunted Command. Activated Synergy restores 4% of your max health, stamina, magicka. Current bonus is 534 health, 1,028 stamina, and 388 magicka. You got Undaunted Metal. Increases your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% for each type of armor. So we're only going to get 2% because we're doing all medium, but this is still important. Then we already went through the racial passives, but you're going to do every single racial passive here. And then for alchemy, you're going to do medicinal use, which when you use potions, the results effects last 30% longer. So that is the passives, y'all. So now we're going to go in to the armor, one of my favorite parts, and you guys are going to see what makes this build. And again, I'm going to go into some alternate setups you can go here with armor and stuff if you're playing group play, solo play, and if you want easier time grinding for stuff. So on the body, we're going to start off with the 5 body pieces here. We're going to use Venomous. Venomous is the overland set in Greymoor. This is very, very easy to farm, and I absolutely love this set. What this set does is it adds weapon critical, and spell damage. And then the 5 item, dealing critical damage, inflicts Hunter's Venom on your enemy for 10 seconds, dealing 2,980 poison damage to your target and enemies within 6 meters of them every 1 second. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. So literally, this is basically has like almost 100% uptime. You have 5 seconds where this might not be up. This is really, really good. And the fact that if you do this on an enemy, it literally is stuck to them. So it doesn't just stay down in one spot. So if you afflict this on an enemy and you like run and go to another enemy, that enemy is going to follow and they're going to bring that Hunter's Venom with them. I absolutely love this set. I am going to talk about maybe how you also could get these on the jewelry and weapons instead of just the body pieces, but I'll talk to you about that here in a second. But with all of these, we're going to do Divine's traits, okay? Divine's traits. We're going to do max stamina enchantment on all body pieces. So that's chest, girdle, feet, legs, and gloves. All right, and again, these do not have to be yellow. This is the PTS. You can make these purple. Purple is perfectly fine for this, okay? So just wanted you to know that. Okay, now we're going to go into the next set. Again, this is a very easy set to farm. You can farm this in the Overland in Greymoor. The next set can be swapped with like 3 other sets. It really, really depends on what you want and if you're playing solo or if you're playing group play. I go with this set because this is the solo setup and this is the most RP poison plague doctor feel that I could get with this. But the next set is the Plague Slinger. This is the medium set in Scale Caller's Peak, which is a DLC dungeon that you can do if you have ESO Plus or if you've got the DLC. And I'm going to talk about some alternative sets if you don't have that DLC or if you don't want to grind for this set. Again, you can do this on normal. The DLC dungeons are not hard at all on normal. You don't have to do it on veteran or anything like that. But this set is on the head and shoulders because, again, I'm going to have 2 different setups here for solo. We'll have a monster set and a few monster sets that you can use. But for this specific part, we're not using a monster set, and I'll show you why. But we're going to go Plague Slinger on the head and shoulders. These are going to be medium, okay? They're going to have Divine's traits again and max stamina. But what Plague Slinger does is it adds 129 weapon damage. It adds 1,206 maximum health, which helps with solo. And it adds 129 weapon damage. And then the 5-piece. When you take damage, you summon a Skeever Corpse, which will launch 5 poison balls over 5 seconds that each deal 6,776 poison damage to the nearest enemy within 10 meters. This effect can occur every 8 seconds. This happens all the time. When you're playing solo, you're going to be the one that's getting damaged, okay? That's why I love this set for solo. When you're in a group, I would take this set off and replace it with another set that I'm going to show you here in a second. Because this set, again, is when you're taking damage. It's not that you're never going to take damage in a group. But it's going to be fully used when you are the only person being damaged. So just keep that in mind. Again, it's definitely able to be used in a group. But it's something that I really, really like for solo play. Now, you're going to have that on the weapons as well. And you're going to have that on one jewelry piece. Okay? So you're going to have an axe, which is going to have Nirnhond on it, and the stamina enchantment is actually going to be replaced, and you're going to be running poisons. Because remember, we're doing poison damage. We're a plague doctor. We're creating like poisons everywhere, right? So you're going to use damage health poisons 9. In order to make damage health poisons 9, or whatever you want to call it, IX, but it's 9 in Roman numerals, you need Flesh Fly Larva, Nightshade, and Nirnroot to make these, okay? But you're going to go Dagger. Again, it's got the Nirnhond trait, or Axe. Nirnhond trait on the Axe, and you're going to go Dagger, which has the Precise trait. Again, these weapons now can be upgraded to yellow. I think weapons should be upgraded to yellow eventually if you like the build, but purple also does suffice for now. The bow, again, is going to have a poison damage on it. And so this is going to have Infused trait, and this again is the Plague Slinger bow. Then you're going to have one jewelry piece. This is going to complete the 5 set, so you don't have to worry about switching back and forth and not having it active on one bar. This is going to have the Bloodthirsty trait, which increases your weapon and spell damage against enemies under 90% health up to 350. And you're going to have a weapon damage enchantment. Again, this does not need to be yellow. please don't upgrade this to yellow. Upgrade it to blue or purple. I would say purple if you really, really like this build, but yellow is seriously for people that either have a lot of money in the game that can do that, or you just really are going to play this build forever. You know what I mean? So don't worry about upgrading this to yellow, okay? The necklace is going to be agility. We don't have another space for any other agility, so I just ran with agility here. Bloodthirsty trait as well. Please don't upgrade this to yellow. Now, the other ring is, this may be not a surprise to people, but this ring is just absolutely ridiculous. It's the Ring of the Pale Order. This is one of the newest mythic items from Markarth. And what this does is it restores 18% of the damage you deal as health up to a maximum of 2,750 health per attack. You cannot be healed by anyone but yourself. It's going to have the Bloodthirsty trait, and you're going to put the weapon damage enchant on it. This is, again, something you have to do through antiquities. So if you need help with antiquities, I've got a beginner and an advanced antiquity guide in the description and the top of the screen. You're going to have to do the antiquity system to get this. I think you would be I think it's almost a no-brainer to use this ring when you're playing solo. I just think that I've been using this ring, and you heal so much. And this ring is literally a solo player's dream. The thing that it does throw a wrench in, again, is it kind of makes your sets kind of wonky. Like, you're not using a monster set. You know, you're having like a weird off like jewelry piece here. Now, I know you can have it set up to where you only have certain abilities active on each bar, but I just wanted to make sure I had the 5-piece on both bars for each of my sets. But this ring, y'all, is really, really good. And if you can get this ring, okay? It is not a necessity to solo. You don't have to have this ring to solo, but it is really, really good to have, okay? So that is the first setup as a solo player. Now, I'm going to show you some alternate setups you can have as a solo player first, okay? The first setup requires, if you don't have the Ring of the Pale Order, if you don't have this yet, okay, what you can do is you can switch out that with the another ring of Plague Slinger, and then a necklace of Plague Slinger, okay? That will then allow you to take off the 2-piece helmet and shoulder piece, okay? The monster set that I would run, there's a few here that you can run, and I'll tell you a few reasons why you can run either one. I would run Celestrix monster set, okay? Medium on both, same enchantment, same trait, everything, right? Okay, so you got 5-piece Plague Slinger, 5-piece Venomous, and then you got 2-piece Celestrix. What Celestrix does, it adds maximum stamina, and then when you deal damage, you create an earthquake under the enemy that erupts for 1.5 seconds, dealing 9,091 physical damage to all enemies before 4 seconds, within 4 meters, stunning them for 3 seconds. This effect can occur every 6 seconds. This is something that procs all the time. When you're playing solo, the fact that you can stun them for 3 seconds and stun trash mobs is huge, especially if you're doing vet dungeons by yourself and they're swarming you. This set is amazing for solo play, and I love it. It does a ton of damage, and it adds max stamina. So this is one setup. You can also, if you want to go for full optimization of damage, you can run Celine's 2-piece. And remember, y'all, for Celestrix and all these other monster sets, you need to do Undaunted. I've got an Undaunted guide in the description if you want to check that out, or the top of the screen. For optimized damage, or like higher damage outputs, you can do Celine's, which is from Celine's Web Vet. This is just going to do massive amounts of damage. Then you can also do Veladreth, which is from the Vet DLC dungeon, Cradle of Shadows. This is another really, really cool disease poison kind of thing that throws out disease pores when you deal damage. So this is another one if you want to go all out damage. The other one that is obviously really good for solo play is Iceheart. Iceheart is a monster set that is traditionally used a lot in solo play. You see right here, when you deal critical damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a damage shield. Absorbs 5,000 damage for 6 seconds. When the damage shield holds, you deal 600 frost damage to all enemies within 5 meters every 1 second. This effect can occur every 6 seconds. This wasn't very RP poison to me, so I didn't really put that on, but it is a solid set, okay? But my first pick for solo, if you don't have the Ring of the Pale Order, is the Celestrix Mask and Arm Cops. Now, another thing I want to mention is if you do not have the Scale Collar Peak DLC Dungeon Pack, or you don't have ESO Plus, and you can't grind for this. There are some armor sets that you can switch out Plague Slinger for. Again, Plague Slinger is more for the solo build. If you want to run group play, you can use some of these other sets that I'm going to show you. So some other alternatives, and this is my favorite one for group play, but a very, very easy thing to do if you've got the Thieves Guild DLC or anything like that. This is the Savara's Scales set. This is my top pick for group play. Savara's Scales adds maximum health, maximum stamina, maximum magicka, reduces your damage done taken from guards, which don't really matter. But then when you deal damage, you cause a burst of Lamia poison that deals 1330 poison damage in 5-meter radius, an additional 13,800 poison damage over 6 seconds to all enemies hit. This effect can occur every 7 seconds. This is an amazing set. I love this for group play. I love this for an alternative to Plague Slinger. Again, you would do jewelry and weapons. Another alternative, and this is like a very easy alternative if you need to start out and you don't have the Scale Caller DLC or you don't have the Thieves Guild DLC. This is Necklace of the Viper. This is from the Fungal Grotto dungeon. This adds weapon critical, max stamina, weapon critical, and then when you deal damage with a melee attack, you deal an additional 8,510 poison damage over 4 seconds. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. Another set that you can look at, this is in Morrowind. This is Defiler. Defiler adds weapon damage, weapon critical, weapon damage. When you deal critical damage, you summon a hunger that spews poison to all enemies in front of it, dealing 9,097 poison damage, stunning any enemy hit for 5 seconds. This effect can occur every 5 seconds. This is another really solid set. If you don't have the DLCs, you can run Defiler's armor as well. And one of the last alternatives that I have is the Widowmaker. This adds weapon critical, max stamina. When your alchemical poison fires, you drop poisonous spore in front of you that bursts after 1 second, dealing 26,238 poison damage over 5 seconds to all enemies within 5 meters. Another solid set. This is farmable in the Cradle of Shadows dungeon, so that is DLC, but that's something that you can think of if you want an alternative. Again, I don't know what DLCs you'll have, but that is solid. But I would say that Plague Slinger is the go-to for solo play. And then if you're doing group play, I would say that Savara's Scales is the the best one for group play. And then if you don't have any of those DLCs, you can do Vipers, which is in the base game, Ring of the Viper right here, or you can do the Defiler, which again is in Morrowind, which is in the base game. Defiler is right there. Now, the last thing I want to say about the armor, okay? The last thing I want to say is you can totally switch your venomous armor to the weapons and jewelry, and switch your Plague Slinger, Savara's Scales, Vipers, whatever you want to do to the body. The reason I say that is since these are in dungeons, these may be harder to farm than the body pieces. I would say that the venomous weapons and jewelry are extremely easier to farm than the Plague Slinger and the dungeon jewelry and armor. The reason is because you can get the jewelry from Harrowstorms. For Greymoor, you can get them from chests. You can get the weapons from bosses, all kinds of stuff. The only reason I picked weapons and jewelry for Plague Slinger is just because that's what I put on first. So honestly, you can just switch these out. If you want venomous on jewelry and weapons, and you want the other stuff on armor, you can totally do that. That's up to you. Whatever is easiest for you to farm, totally do that, okay? I just want you to know that it's okay if you switch those. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to showcase to you kind of what the rotation looks like and what you do in actual fights. Now, the fact that I'm in, a target dummy here, Plague Slinger is not going to fire because these target dummies are not going to attack me. So I will go into an actual dungeon and you can kind of see that as well. But normally the way that I like to start it out is I like to throw out my beast trap, and then you'll light attack, then you'll do arrow barrage, switch bars, razor caltrops, and then if you're doing a boss, right, you can fire your poison arrow to get your poison over time. If you're not doing a boss, then stay on your razor caltrops bar. You can do noxious breath, whirlwind, basically vice versa for both of those. So if you want to do whirlwind first and then noxious breath, you can do that. But either way, The thing to identify here is if you're in a mob fight, you really don't need to use Claw because it's a single target ability. You don't need to be using your Flames of Oblivion. That is there just to be slotted. Remember that, okay? And you don't really need to use your Poison Arrow attack, okay? And then remember, your Echoing Vigor, this heal, that's a heal, okay? This is a, like, emergency heal, the Draconic Blood ability. And the Noxious Breath is like a pre-fight thing. You want to do that to all the enemies in the area. But normally, when I'm in a mob fight, if I just go bow, caltrops, blades, I can almost wipe out every enemy in the area in no time. It usually gets the job done. So that's why I'm saying that basically identify first if you're going into a boss fight, or a single target fight, or if you're in a bunch of enemies. If you're in a bunch of enemies, you're going to use Beast Trap, Arrow Barrage, and then you're going to use Caltrops, Breath, Whirlwind, right? Those are your abilities that you're using in AoE fights, okay? Then if you're in a boss fight, okay, and remember, in between those, you want to be light attacking. If you want to learn about rotations and animation canceling, you can check out my guides in the description below. I have those there or the top of the screen, but you want to be light attacking in between. Now, if you're in a boss fight, you would do the same setup, basically, other than, like, so you do your trap, you know, you light attack, do your barrage, light attack, and then you do Poison Arrow first, because since you're already on this bar, you'd switch, throw Caltrops down, Breath, Claw, Blades, and then you'd switch, Arrow, Poison, Beast Trap, Caltrops, Claw, Breath, Blades. So, again, you can also use Claw to spam if you'd like on a boss. Do not spam Noxious Breath. Do not spam Caltrops. Okay? Do not use Flames of Oblivion ability. Alright? Do not spam Barrage. When the boss is under 50%, make sure the arrow is definitely going. Don't spam Beast Trap, okay? And then these are just heals, okay? These are just heals. The Draconic Blood and the Echoing Vigor. And then, obviously, if you're in a boss fight, I drop your standard. That's going to let you do more damage, okay? If you're in mob fights, I do your dual wield ability, because that is going to do a lot more damage in your mob fights. I mean, the standard will be, but I think you should keep those for actual boss fights. But that is sort of a beginner rundown of the rotation. I hope that made sense. Just remember, again, I'm going to go into a dungeon here and into a public dungeon as well, and I'm going to show you kind of in action what Plague Slinger looks like. But remember, if you're in a mob fight, you're just doing Arrow Barrage. You can do Beast Trap if you want, but you really don't have to for really quick trash mobs. But really just Arrow Barrage, Caltrops, Blades, and Breath. That is your 4 skills that you're using in a mob fight. Now, when it comes to, again, bosses, you're going to be using Arrow, Beast Trap, Poison, Caltrops, Claw, Breath, Blades. Right? That's going to be the rotation. And it's going to be pretty simple. It really is, y'all. So I'm going to show you guys in a dungeon kind of what I'm talking about in action, and then we'll show some public dungeon stuff as well. So we are in City of Ash dungeon, and I'm just going to show you guys kind of what I do with actual enemies. So again, arrows, breath, that. You see the Plague Slinger corpse right there as it's dealing damage to that enemy. It's like a little rat, and it's like poisoned. And I think that is like super RP, y'all. Like, super RP. Like, it's so cool to me, like how that comes up. You see it shooting poisons and all that stuff. It's freaking awesome. So again, to initiate a fight, we're gonna go arrows, switch, caltrops, blades, noxious breath, dual wield, spin, arrow, caltrops, breath, spin. You see the skeever right there. The skeever is right there and is shooting poison at things. About to go into another fight. Arrows, caltrops, breath, Spin to win, boys and girls. Spin to win. You see the poison shooting at the flame atronach. If you got one enemy left, make sure you use your single target ability. But there you go. That clears the trash mob. Another mob fight here. Do this. Use Draconic Blood to heal there. Noxious Breath. Claw. Bow ability. Caltrops. Spin to win. Noxious Breath. Dual wield. Spin to win. Spin to win. And trash mobs are destroyed. So now we're going to fight the actual boss. You're going to use your single target abilities, and you're going to use your poison overtime effects. And again, you will see that the Ring of the Pale Order is an all-star, y'all. I mean, it is literally, it is so freaking good. Like, it just keeps you alive so freaking much. And you really just don't ever have to worry about it. I'll drop standard. I'll use my AoEs. Make sure I have my single target dots on him. Caltrops. Whirling Blades. Spin to win. Okay, reapply arrow. Poison injection. Beast trap. Heavy attack to get your resources back. Caltrops. Dot over time. Spin to win. Arrow barrage is up. We'll do arrow barrage. Poison injection. Even if you're taking hits by him, you're literally just going to heal instantly from the Ring of Pale Order because you're doing so many AoE damage over time effects that it's just going to heal you for forever, basically. It's just the Ring of the Pale Order is solid, right? It's something that I'm thinking that they might nerf it even more coming up in like the next DLC or something, but it's really good. And if you're playing solo, I definitely would run it. I mean, it's really, really good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to another setup here. I'm going to switch to that Celastrix setup so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about with that. So that means we're going to take the Ring of the Pale Order off. So that means we're not going to get as much healing, but we will have a little bit more damage output with this build. So we'll go to my jewelry, and I'll go to, let's see, where's it at? Plague Slinger necklace, and then I'll get the Plague Slinger ring, and we'll go with Celastrix. And you'll kind of see that with Celastrix, you can kind of just, like, stop enemies in their tracks. So we'll switch the bow, Caltrops, spin to win. You see right there, they just got stunned by Celastrix. But you see that our heals are a little more not there, basically, because Plague Slinger is not active. Or not Plague Slinger. Ring of Pale Order is not active. So since it's not active, you've got to pay attention a little bit more to your health, right? You're not going to be just healing passively over time. You're going to have to really keep track of that. So don't, just like get carried away. Don't try to pull too many ads. But as you can see right here, we're just absolutely decimating these ads. We got the Plague Slinger shooting poison up. I'm going to use my Vigor here because it looks like we're getting a little low on health. But as you can see, there's my Skeever. It's shooting poison. It's really awesome. I love it. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to Savara's Scales and not use Plague Slinger and kind of show you guys what that's about. Savara's Scales is really, really cool. I do really like it. I just like the Plague Slinger aspect because you see the poison shooting up, and it's like a really, really like RP for Plague Doctor. You've got poisons on your weapons. You're using Venomous. You're poisoning a Skeever. It's kind of insane. You're destroying creatures with that. It's something that's very RP for this. Okay, remember, so Savara's Scales, when you deal damage, you cause a burst of Lamia poison that deals more poison damage. So we'll show you what that looks like here. I'm going to find some ads. So let's just kill these. So you see right there, the alchemic poisons are insane. We're going to heal. Do damage over time. We're going to use our dual wield to heal everything right there because we were getting low. Noxious Breath. Arrow barrage. And if you find yourself running out of resources, take off Razor Caltrops right here and put either Blade Cloak or Deadly Cloak or Rapid Strikes. Caltrops can drain your resources, so if you don't know how to manage those well, that is something that you can alter. So as you see, we're getting low in health. We're going to use our heal. We're going to use our emergency heal there as well. We're going to spin to win. Use our heal again. Emergency heal. And as you can tell, again, you see how good the Ring of the Pale Order is. I never had to worry about my health before. But my damage output is a little bit better when I'm not running the Ring of Pale Order. But run the damage output, the higher damage output if you're a little more experienced playing solo. If you're playing in a group, y'all, you obviously don't need to run Ring of Pale Order because no one can heal you. So take off the Ring of Pale Order. But if you're running solo and you're not as comfortable yet, get the Ring of Pale Order and run that. But that right there, y'all, kind of shows you a little bit of the rotation and what you can expect. It's something, again, that is really, really fun to use. I've had so much fun using this build, and that is, again, what my goal is, y'all, with build videos and with builds in this game. I'm someone who likes to have fun in this game. I'm not chasing leaderboards. I'm not chasing the top DPS. I want to play builds that are fun and want me to come back and play. You know what I mean? That make me want to come back and play. So if you're looking for something like that, that's going to dish out tons of AoE damage, and it's going to be really fun to play solo and as well with a group that can clear almost all the content in the game, this build is definitely for you. Now, I want to go into the fashion a little bit here to show you guys a little bit about what that's about. What I have on currently is the hazardous alchemy motif. This is something that will be available to you by completing the Stone Garden dungeon, okay? You'll see that I have the glowy eyes as well. That's the Void Pathosis skin, which you get from doing the Zabuhailo's Veteran New Arena solo trial that's coming out with Markarth. And the dye that I'm using on all of this is literally just the Julianos White, which you get from just doing Aetherian Archive trial on normal, which is in the base game. This is something that I really, really like. And the personality that I'm using is the Worm Wizard personality. That's a little more difficult to get. That is by doing the Fang Lair Challenger achievement. But this is kind of like a cool Plague Doctor personality in my opinion. But yeah, this is sort of the fashion that I'm using with this build. I'm trying to find a little bit more Plague Doctor-y stuff. There are some Crown Store motifs that are only from the Crown Store that I saw that was pretty cool. But I thought I'd get something that was earnable for everyone as this fashion. And let me go into the champion points real quick with you. Again, CP is something that is something that you can calculate by using this thing over here. You can kind of take the ratios that I use. I'm at 810 CP. But this is something that I play around with. Again, try to find your own thing that you like with it. If you think it's just not working as well for you, switch it up a little bit. But I'll go through what I have. So for the ritual tree, I've got 60 in the Thaumaturge, 66 into Precise Strike, 6 into Piercing, 64 into Mighty. For the Atronach, I've got 14 into Physical Weapons Expert, 60 into Master at Arms. I also have a champion point beginner guide that if you want to check that out in the description or on the top of the screen, it will be there. I then have no points into the Apprentice. For the Shadow, I've got 38 into Shadow Ward, 39 into Tumbling. For the Lover, I got 74 into Mooncalf and 49 into Tenacity. For the Tower, I've got 35 Sprinter, 35 Warlord. For the Lord, I've got nothing in there. That's a PvP tree. For the Lady, I've got 50 Hardy, 43 Thick-Skinned, and 50 Elemental Defender. For the Steed, I've got 75 Ironclad, 36 Spell Shield, and 16 Medium Armor Focus. But that is going to wrap up the build video, y'all. I do, again, hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it's something that you'll like to play. Let me know in the comments, again, anything that you have, the suggestions, or any other build ideas that you want me to do. I plan on doing more build videos here in the future. This is just the start, y'all, so I really do appreciate all of you. And if you ever have any other questions, you can come by the Twitch chat, twitch.tv/brahwegotthis, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the description. You can also check out the Discord and the guilds. The links are in the description as well. And a lot of this will be on our website, brahwegotthis.com. And lastly, make sure to like, subscribe, heavy attack that bell icon if you want to stay up to date on more content. And make sure to follow me at Twitter, y'all, at brahwegotthis. It's on there. You can follow my memes and the funny things that I talk about on there. I like to comment on Zos's posts a lot and try to troll them sometimes. But yeah, y'all, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember, y'all, just to have faith, be great, and I'll see you on ESO.